Welcome to the Amplify Speakers Podcast, where we share the stories, insights, and strategies of some of the most impactful leaders and performers in the world. Today, I'm excited to welcome Ross Bernstein. Ross is a best-selling author, award-winning keynote speaker, and one of the leading voices on leadership, accountability, and championship culture. For decades, Ross has gone behind the scenes with elite athletes, coaches, and high-performing organizations to uncover what separates average teams from truly great ones. From the locker room to the boardroom, Ross helps leaders build trust, eliminate excuses, and create cultures where people take ownership and perform at their best. Ross, we're very excited to have you on the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Chris.
Absolutely. So I guess I kind of like to start at the beginning. You've built an incredible career studying championship teams and elite performers. So take us back for a moment. What sparked your interest in sports and leadership?
Well, like you, I'm a small town Midwestern kid. I grew up in a little town in southern Minnesota. All you do is play sports. That's all there is to do, right? And my dream was to play hockey at the University of Minnesota, much like you playing football or baseball at Nebraska. I was a walk-on. I made it about 5 minutes. I got cut, and I wound up becoming the team mascot, Goldie the Gopher. And I got in a lot of trouble, and I wound up writing a book about it as a senior in college called Gopher Hockey by the Hockey Gopher. And I spun that into a career. I've written about 50 sports books. So I've been able to kind of pursue my passion, doing what I love to do and being a member of the media, interviewing athletes, coaches. I've interviewed thousands of them over the years and trying to figure out what makes the great ones great. And then as a professional speaker, tying that back to business, to leadership, to sales, to culture, to chemistry. So it's been a fun, um, fun ride, I guess, of being able to combine those two passions of sports and business. And now as a speaker, just being able to help people and get them to think differently and to challenge them. And so I share ideas about great teams and athletes and how they find success. And I talk about great companies I work with all over the world and how they're able to overcome disruption, what they're doing with AI, how they're hiring and keeping young Gen Zs and dealing with tariffs and supply chain challenges. So, it's things constantly change, but luckily my topic is really universal and adaptable. I'm one of the only speakers I've spoken on all 7 continents because people relate to sports wherever I am around the world. So I do about 120 events a year, and I just try and customize each one and make it fun and interesting. And that's what it's all about is hopefully getting people to just think a little bit differently.
Yeah, that's first of all, absolutely incredible what you've done. I'm just gonna break it down. It's one thing for somebody to write a book, and you've written, got one of them right here, um, 50 books, which is, unbelievable. And
Thank
I
you.
mean, I'll use the code, right? So Ford's, and you got Jerome Bettis in here and Mike Ditka doing your afterward. Like you said, you interviewed countless athletes. First of all, how did you even get some of them interviews? You're going from a mascot. How did you get to that?
You learn pretty quick. Luckily, I was a hockey player, so I had credibility in that world. So I was able to get all those guys. And then you go to all the charity golf tournaments and you give away lots of books for free and you don't write dumb things and you just leverage those relationships and you get those cell phone numbers. And hey, would you do me a favor? Would you call your buddy Jerome Bettis, or do you think he'd talk to me? And of course, and you just, one leads to the next, right? And if you're a nice guy, I believe in the laws of karma. And, as long as you kind of play by the rules, those guys are, they just don't want to look bad. They don't want to be misquoted. And I'm not winning any Pulitzer Prizes. My books mostly wind up in bathroom libraries. Let's be honest. I'm at the bottom of the literary food chain writing sports books. But, they appreciate when you write good things about them that they're going to be proud of. And I think a cool testimonial is a lot of these guys will wind up buying cases of my books to give away as Christmas gifts and stuff because they feel like they want to be a part of that, and it's fun and it's always positive, and that's do to really to be better. So I try and celebrate these great achievements. And I'm one of the only celebrity sports speakers, Chris, where I'm not the hero of my story. My story is a huge failure. I didn't make the hockey team. So I talk about other people and I talk about what makes them great. So I'm really at heart, I've always been a cheerleader, just cheering for other people and challenging people to think differently. And that's what I love about this industry. It's, everyone's got their own story, their own way of doing things, their own business model. And I'm just lucky to have kind of created a little path where I'm able to have fun and hopefully help make a difference in a lot of people's lives.
That's absolutely incredible. I think it's a lot, you're very humble in the way you talk, but I do believe you can tell immediately how genuine, how caring of a person you are. And
Thank
I
you.
have to believe that's one of the things that has gotten you this far. I still want to kind of dive into the books a little bit. Some of what you speak on and talk on is inspired and it's pieces pulling out of your books. And what are, if somebody hasn't read one of your books and they're listening to this, what would be the one you'd say this is probably the one you should start with? And then you'll probably go from there.
It's like, which of your kids do you love the most, right? They're all different. I write about all sports. You know, so the book that you have there, it's part of a series. It's called The Code. It's the football code. There's also a hockey code about fighting in hockey. That's a cool book. It was turned into a movie with an Academy Award-winning director. The baseball code on the cover features Nolan Ryan giving Robin Ventura the business. You're a baseball guy. You know that story. And that series of books
Yes.
was really, it's about, it took several years to write that series, but it's about the unspoken, unwritten rules in sports. It's about the honor code the players live by. It's not about it's not celebrating fighting in hockey. It's celebrating the honor code the players live by. And it's about doing things the right way. So if you cheat, if you take shortcuts, if you take liberties with the smaller player, if you don't play by the rules, the honor code says you must be held accountable. In hockey, that means you're not wearing a face mask. It means you're going to get punched in the mouth. And like Mike Tyson says, everyone's got a plan, so they get punched in the mouth and you lose a few teeth. We call that spit and chiclets in my business. So my program, the Champions Code, it's based on winning with integrity. You can cheat, you can take shortcuts, you can get away with stuff. But my whole program is celebrating great teams, great athletes, great companies, great leaders who do things with integrity, who do things the right way, even when no one's looking. So I draw on examples from that about these codes. Companies have codes, organizations have codes, and what does it mean to be a champion? So that book that you have it's a lot of inside information from, you hear from Tom Brady and you hear from what it's like under a pile and there's a fumble and what really goes on and kind of retaliation and retribution. And you hear about, there's a reason, this week, Bill Belichick, the greatest coach of all time, was not elected as the first ballot Hall of Famer, despite winning. He's got 8 Super Bowls to his credit. Well, Spygate, Deflategate. These writers don't forget. If you cheat, they're going to punish you. They're going to make you wait. There's consequences for doing things that are nefarious, that are a little bit shady, right? So it's fascinating. I don't pass judgment, but I write about it, and then I try and get companies to think about their honor codes and about what doing business with integrity means to them. And you see pretty quick with the great companies. I just had a gig this week with Prudential. It was my 14th event with this organization. They've been around for 150 years. I mean, these guys have weathered world wars and great depressions. And so I love talking about great companies like that. Mutual of Omaha in your backyard. What an honor to work with great companies that get it, that do things the right way. But it's a battle when you've got tens of thousands of employees who are all trying to, get up that ladder and do things, and they want to take shortcuts. So what I do is I try and use examples from sports, from business to show people this is the right path. Find your way, be creative, but this is the right path.
Ah, that's incredible. I mean, I could sit here and you could tell stories about sports all day long, and I would be very happy and entertained. With that said, there's, some people they're just not into sports, right? So I'm sure you've encountered an event planner company going, well, what about for the group that doesn't like sports or isn't into sports? How is this going to relate to them?
Sure. And I get groups like that all the time. Women's groups, DEI groups. I talk about sports, but it's not sports, it's stories. I give great examples of um, the human side of people. And that's what, my whole thing, they're little vignettes about athletes. And if it's a women's conference, we're talking about Pat Summit. We're talking about Lindsey Vaughn. We're going to talk about Caitlin Clark. We're going to, I go down that path and make it really interesting wherever I am in the world, whether I'm talking about rugby in New Zealand or cricket in South Africa. I mean, I try and relate and, making things local. When I'm in, Omaha speaking and I can, drop a reference like I did earlier about the 83 uh, squad that beat my beloved Golden Gophers 84-13, the worst drubbing in history with Turner, Turner and Kendall and Osborne and Remington. And these are names where you go, I got all their autographs in my man cave. And you go, dude, I was at that Orange Bowl. People connect. Sports has that just emotional connection with people. But yeah, not everyone gets it. So I love it when I do a conference sometime and I'll get a gal afterwards to say, I was really prepared to hate you, but I loved your program. I loved the stories. I loved how you made it personal. It really wasn't about sports. So I try and find the human interest side. And I think as a journalist, that's always the key to not make it too sportsy. The sports people get it, but I always try and make it so it's really more about business and about life and, being better, whether that's being a better parent, being a better manager, better leader, sales professional. I mean, we have an honor. We get an hour or two or three or four of people's time. And that's a gift. It's a gift their company gave them. It's a gift maybe they chose being a member of an association. And my job is to entertain them and hopefully educate them or quite frankly, even just help them give them time off. I had an event recently where there was a guy who was sound asleep in my keynote. And I was like, you go for it, brother. This is my gift to you. And afterwards he came up to me, he felt bad, but he said, he just lost his dog. I said, man, I'm so sorry. He's like, I just needed to chill out. I've been up all night. I'm like, what a gift. My gift, your company gave you a gift today. You could just chill out. And you know what? We don't know what people are going through. Every event we walk up to, everyone's got their cell phone in their hand and they go, okay, dance, monkey boy. Because if you suck, I'm going to be on Facebook or Instagram or TikTok for the next hour. I got to be better, more entertaining, more funny than that. So when you can hold people's attention and bring that level of energy and content, you're on the right path. So that's what it's all about in this business, man. We start every year as speakers with a blank calendar. I got to fill 120 every year, and it's go go go. So you gotta be good and get those referrals and get clients recommending you. Otherwise, this is a hobby.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, for anyone that has never spoken on a big stage or even worked to get that, I think a lot of people don't realize how many, there's plenty of choices. There's a lot of applications behind the scenes. There's just a lot of work. And you can, a company bringing you back says a huge volume. Whereas a conference, they want a different person, maybe year after year, right? To attract different people. And so you're constantly, if you're not putting out a great performance, you're not doing 100 to 120 keynotes every year. People aren't talking and telling everyone and raving about you. So I think it speaks volumes that many people have seeked you out to share your message. It's that good of a message. So I guess there's plenty of other things I'm going to dive into, but leading off of that, can you give maybe a glimpse of one of the stories you like to tell, or one of the pieces of advice that lights you even up, but you definitely know the audience lights up when you tell it.
Sure. Well, I share it's kind of a blend and weave of sports stories and business stories. And kind of what you talked about a little bit before about, you know, if an event doesn't want you the next year, I'm a big believer in karma and referrals and helping other speakers, helping bureaus, helping my clients, helping them whether they need to find new customers, new talent, So I really believe just going in with, I'm a member of a group called the National Speakers Association, and we have a mantra. We call it abundant generosity, where even though we're all competitors, we all help each other, which really is totally unique. You wouldn't see a bunch of life insurance sales professionals all being like, "Hey, let me recommend my best client to you. Hey, I just spoke to Mutual of Omaha. Could I recommend you as their next speaker? And I want nothing in return other than just karma." But that's what we do. We have a national day. It's March 14th, which we call Pi Day. It's 3.14 if you're a math nerd, March 14th. And it's about not fighting over little pieces of pie, but working together to make the whole damn pie bigger. Let's make the industry bigger, right? Let's bring in more speakers. Let's bring in more content. Let's help people more. So I really believe in that, and I'm all about helping my friends, my colleagues. You know, if they're in a slump, in sports, you got to get out of that slump, right? You've been there. Like nothing better than a great referral. Just tee people up, get them going, get their confidence going, and I think that's what makes the great ones great is that abundant generosity mindset. A great
I
assist, as I
love
like to
really.
say in hockey.
I like what you said about not fighting over the piece of pie, but helping make the pie bigger by what you give. And it's because you focus on what you give so much and those around you versus yourself. In return, I think that karma comes back tenfold.
100%.
So you, Ross, you have a unique and but a very effective social media strategy. Can you care to share a little bit of that with the listeners? What are you kind of
Sure.
doing differently?
Well, I really only do one platform. I just do LinkedIn. So I think Facebook is really dangerous. A lot of speakers don't realize that half our clients voted for Trump and the other half are on MSNBC voting for someone else. So the fact that they would have opinions, comments, likes, shares, or anything talking about so many polarizing topics is absolute insanity, in my opinion. So I focus on LinkedIn where I can control the narrative. And I use social for three reasons: to honor, acknowledge, and thank others. So my posts are never about me, they're always about my clients. I'm a cheerleader for them, thanking them, acknowledging them, bragging about them, and bragging about others. When this podcast airs, I'll be tagging you, thanking you, sending out through my network saying, Chris is awesome. Work with Chris. That's what I want to do, is just be a platform for others. And I found that it just by having that sort of giving karma mindset, that it's just much more effective. A lot of people use social for evil, not for good. So I just try and use it for good. And I'm not really uh I'm a consistent poster for events, but I really don't do it anything about me. It's really about others, to thank or honor them, and it's been just been very effective because I think it's just organic and authentic, and it's just something different.
Yeah, I really genuine enjoy that. It's you're not just putting it out there to put it out there. It's not marketing per se, as I think a lot of times social media is or it's used for, and that's probably why it works and is more effective. It's once again
I, I
people want
I'll say
to.
sorry to interrupt you, but I appreciate what you just said. I I like to send LinkedIn invitations early. I want people to a prospect, potential company that may be looking for a speaker. I don't do any advertising or marketing. That's not what I do. Um, but I want them to see two things. I want them to see, number one, how busy I am, not by me saying I'm busy, but just showing, wow, there's Ross every week in a few different cities. And boy, it looks like his clients really like him. There's a lot of comments from his clients and saying, attaboy, right? Not you bragging about you, but other people bragging about you. So they're going to see that there's a urgency and scarcity to hiring this guy. The dates are going to be full. Number two, I want people to see how I treat my clients like gold, that I love on them, and that I'm a cheerleader for them. Because that's what everybody wants. People, and I encourage people to be a cheerleader for your clients and customers and your people and do that. So I just think those two simple things that really cost nothing are so profoundly impactful. And when you tag people, include them, tell them to jump on board, it's really a magic formula.
I love that. Everyone should take that advice and just run with it. You get to talk to a lot of great leaders in different focuses, maybe on their expertise. And one that comes up a lot is, building a great culture and making sure employees and teams feel valued and seen. But it goes everyone from every role inside that organization all the way up. And sometimes the person at the top gets the recognition that the others don't, and they deserve it. They're the unsung heroes. But other times it's you going out of your way to thank that person that put it together. You got the opportunity to work with and go on. They don't always get that, right? And so you taking that time to tell them that it's meaningful to you and thanking them, so powerful.
Yeah,
And what a
I love that.
good use of time. If you're gonna put some content out, what a good use of. Let's put some.
Yeah,
What did you say? Thanking, acknowledging, and honor. Right? Was
yeah,
that the three?
yeah,
Yeah. What a
exactly.
great content strategy. I need to feed that
Simple.
with more of that on every platform.
I run a very simple business. I run it completely myself. I don't have people. I answer all my own phone calls. My contract is 2 sentences. I'm incredibly easy to work with. I have a really, really simple model, and you don't need a lot of stuff. I don't have assistants and AI bots, and I book my own travel. I lick my own stamps. I go to the post office. My wife and I travel together. We built a really cool lifestyle business. We're on the road together, which is great. We bring our daughter with us. When she was younger, one of the things I love to brag about is one of the metrics that matters to me is she became Delta Airlines' youngest diamond medallion at the age of 13. All 7 continents and 60, 70 countries by the time she was in junior high, and a public school kid. We wore that as a badge of honor because I want to enjoy the ride. It's a lonely business. You're on the road a lot, so I want to enjoy it with my family, and that's something I'm really proud of, that I've been able to make this business work, and I can run my business from my phone. It doesn't need to be complicated. Just pick up the damn phone, call people, right? Just be nice. It's People make it so complicated. It's really easy.
I that's incredible. I mean, you've given experiences to your family that a lot of people would dream of. I mean, we were talking
Yeah,
about it
I'm really
a little
lucky,
bit earlier.
really grateful.
People, a lot of people, you look forward to the weekend trip away in the car, or the summer vacation, and you, on the other hand, are gone more than you're probably likely in your house, with 120 a year.
But I have a theory,
And
Chris. When you're alone, you're on the road. When you're with your family, you're traveling. And it doesn't matter if you're in Quad Cities or you're in Sydney, Australia. Like you're traveling, and that's what we do. We enjoy the ride. We reach out and we see all our speaker friends. We get together for big lunches and dinners, and we see people. We're very purposeful to celebrate our community when we're traveling. And wherever I go, I'm always reaching out on to my friends, and let's get together, let's have dinner, and we make it fun, and we try and help each other, and it's a beautiful business. You just gotta lean in and really enjoy it, I think.
ah, that's incredible. Yeah, I think you've mastered the idea of how to make the best of everything, and weave
Thank you.
what you're passionate about and what you work on and are able to make an income on. And that's just very rare, I think, for most people to be able to blend all that together well. So I guess for someone that, let's say somebody wanted to get into this and they're like, man, that sounds like something I would love to do, what would you tell them? What would be your advice?
Well, I would say you gotta, like anything else, you gotta study the business, right? Maybe you join a Toastmasters group. There's the organization, National Speakers Association, has chapters all over the country. You can join. They have um, programs for emerging young speakers. Young doesn't matter how old you are. Young is how much you've been speaking. So there's people that are, that ran $1 billion businesses that are newbies, they're apprentices because they want to get in the business. So there's no age barrier. We got kids that are 19 doing, working schools and, Gen Z conferences making a killing. And we got guys, Harvey McKay is a dear friend of mine. He's 93. He has a new book out this year. I mean, there's no rules in this business. You can do whatever you want, right? As long as someone's willing to pay to hear what you have to say, that's great. But you gotta study it. It's a business. So NSA we have a big conference in July called Influence. And that's the business of speaking. There'll be 1,000 professional speakers, the bureaus, they all come, and it's how do you put together a one sheet and demo video, and how do you work with bureaus, and how do you make this a repeatable business? Anyone can get a gig, but can you do it consistently over and over and over again? It's either a business or a hobby. And and look, we all have speaker envy. Whatever your fee is, we're all pretty transparent about our fees. But whether you're making $50 or $500 or $5,000 or $50,000 an hour, I mean, we're all there, and everyone dreams of having a bigger, better business and wish they were that guy or that guy. Or so you go with what you got. You become an expert. If you can help people, if you can help solve problems, if people are willing to pay you for what you have to say, great. But when you start out, don't ask for referrals, give referrals. You had a job. We all had a previous life. Get someone a gig. Then say, hey, would you help me? Get in a mastermind group. It's very much karma based. Start networking. Get a group of people who are better than you that are doing this. Learn from them. Go study. It's years and years and years. Like in baseball, it takes 10 years to become an overnight sensation, right? You got to really work at it. So I've been at this for a long time, man. I might I might make it look easier than it is, but I've been doing this for decades, and I'm still perplexed and reinventing myself all the time. And you got to have thick skin. Every gig I book, I lose 5. That means that planner thought there were 5 other people prettier, smarter, way more interesting than me. So if you can't deal with rejection and deal with basically losing a job interview every day, this ain't for you. You got to better have thick skin, because you're going to hear it.
Yeah. Great advice. I really couldn't think of someone to take better advice from. I think you said it really well. Anybody can do it. It could be, it's a new book, or maybe you just finished off your professional career in this sport, or you're handing up the microphone on your band that, was well listened to. It could be anything, right? You could have a TV show. One of the things I love is, and I don't want to take away, because the books you wrote in itself is such an insane accomplishment. But I like how you said, I wasn't the hero of my story. I found stories of others, right? Or you said, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do the work that it takes to do a book. I'm going to do the work it takes to get up there. It just kind of goes to show anybody, if they're willing to put in the work, can do it.
Well, I think the key, what you said, Chris, and this is really important, is the research. So you could, I don't like watching speakers that regurgitate other people's research. You're not a thought leader if you're telling me about some study that you read about someone else that did the work. That doesn't make you an expert. Okay. Go do your research. When I have access and I can interview athletes and get my own data, my own stories, my own intellectual capital, that makes it unique. I'm a thought leader. So it takes a long time to do that. People want to take shortcuts. They'll show YouTube clips of a funny thing and people go, oh, that's funny. Well, that's not you being funny. It's someone else being funny. You're basically stealing their material. Go do the work. I mean, there's no shortcuts in this business. We see it all the time, right? And now people could put together a really slick 30-second demo, and maybe they'll get hired. And guess what? The meeting planner's miserable because they got duped. So it's our responsibility to make sure that we are transparent as speakers, as speaker professionals, as speaker managers, as bureaus, to do the right thing and to make sure that we're representing what we do and what we talk about. And it's people see the sexy, they see the standing ovation in front of a big stage. I mean, it's a million pre-calls, it's a million interviews, it's a million levels of customization and PowerPoint redos and rehearsals. I mean, it's hours and hours and days of travel and grinding behind the scenes, all for that one moment, where you might get a standing ovation. And, so I like to be real, just honest with people who want to get in the business. Like I'm helpful, and as we all should be, but you got to be really realistic about.
Yeah. I like how you put you have to be realistic, and you touched on what goes on behind the scenes, because people hear wait, somebody's getting paid that much to speak, or they're gonna make that for 1 hour, and they get stuck on that dollar.
Yeah.
And that can't be, I don't think that's ever should be what you want to do. Yeah, fine, that's fine. Like anyone to say I aspire to see better. Like you were talking about earlier, different places that you want to work with, different things you're willing to do different for, right? And I think that's what people don't realize is all the work that goes in between those 1 hour talks. Like you
Yeah.
said, the refining, the working, it's maybe cut, like you said, customizing your stories, knowing your audience, knowing where they're from, making it more relatable to them so that they have a great experience. And it's not getting paid for 1 hour of work. There's,
Yeah.
as you know, but I think a lot of times people think in their head, well, you're getting paid for 1 hour. I'm like, no, the amount of hours that go into leading up to and everything to get to that 1 hour.
Yeah.
So I want to tie this up. One of the things I guess I'd like to know as we're kind of tying up is if you've already given great advice for those who want to get into it. Once again, I also wanted to make sure, like, pretty clear there's a reason why you got booked. So let's just take it off of work related, and I'm gonna take it sports related. What's one of the better stories you've come across, or moments, or interactions, anything?
In sports or on stage.
I'll let you go with it, whichever way you want to go.
Well,
What's one if we were sitting around, we're having a drink, and you're like, I gotta tell you a story.
well, it's at our NSA conferences. I will say there's a game we play called Oh Yeah, which is a one-upsman game, which where you'll be with a bunch of veteran speakers and you'll say, a guy, God forbid, had a heart attack in the front row of my event today. Someone will say, well, oh yeah. Well, I had a guy drop dead, and it just you get speakers that just start to tell stories, and you see it this week with all the travel delays. Like, oh yeah, well, I had 9 flights cancel. I Ubered from Anchorage to Orlando to make it to my gig, and you speakers are storytellers, and it's fun when we get together at our events to share these stories in a fun way where it's a behind the scenes look at the things that happen in this industry, because it is a really weird, tiny little industry that very few people, that make it as professionals get into and actually network and do things. So I'm always a fan of hearing other people's stories. I have a million sports stories. I don't want to bore your listeners and guests with, but I'm just a fan. I'm a storyteller. And I was lucky as a kid. I was my high school commencement speaker. I've always been, I could entertain, 50,000 fans at a football game, and I couldn't even talk as the mascot. So it's kind of in your DNA. And now when I do get to tell stories, luckily I've got a photographic memory, so I can get on a stage and I can talk for 4, 6, 8 hours. I don't need notes. I can do it. It's all just boom, 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 because it's in my head and I practiced it a million times. That's the difference. People don't think, what's it going to take? I remember doing an event one time with Jay Leno, and he told the story about how in the green room where here's a guy who's made $100 million, the most humble, normal dude. And he's asking me all about me. And I'm in awe. But he was telling a story about how every Saturday night back in the 90s, and this is before cell phones and social media, he'd go to the Hermosa Beach Comedy and Magic Club in LA, and he'd do the stand-up improv set at midnight for a bunch of drunks just to test his material that week. He didn't have to. but he wanted to, could he tighten up a joke by one or two words? Was this joke in a bomb, you know, in a safe place where he could go do that? And that just reminded me of the professionalism of what it takes to practice over and over and over. There's a saying in this business, do you have to be funny to become a professional speaker? And the answer is only if you want to get paid. So how do you incorporate humor? How do you make it funny? How do you do this repeatable? It's a sales conference, it's a leadership conference, it's a franchise executive conference, it's association conference, it's a Gen Z conference. It's a, you know, they're all different. How do you customize? How do you do it? So I'm a student of the game. I'm looking at speakers now and I'm looking at a dramatic pause. I'm looking at how they might shift and change their body weight. You know, it's theatrics, it's performance, it's art. Right. It's much you get different stages of your career where you learn different things from different people. So I'm in awe of different people at different stages, and I'm in awe of the young bucks now. These young guys coming in talking about AI and right, and it's everything's changing. So I just think it's a fascinating time, and we're very lucky to be in this business doing what we do, getting to help people, help companies grow. And I don't ever take it for granted, man. Every day on stage it's a pure gift, and I have a lot of gratitude. So I'm grateful for guys like you showcasing me. So thank you, and whatever I can do to help you, brother, I'm appreciative.
The pleasure is all mine. This has absolutely been a highlight of my week, something I've been looking forward to. Getting to spend time with you, the amount of knowledge I'm able to take away for even my personal self is so valuable. And so I thank you for being on this podcast and sharing your stories with everyone. And I do want to say, if for everyone listening, I'll put in on the page, we'll have the link for Ross's website, so you can go and look it up. You'll have a link to all of the different books that we mentioned in there, and we'll also have his LinkedIn as well. So you'll be able to find more about Ross there. And I just want to say thank you again, Ross. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Chris. So much fun. Appreciate you, and looking forward to seeing you soon.
Absolutely. Thank you.